Hey, it's Treladero. We're going to be taking a look at the careers in the System Shock 2 remake, or remaster, rather, starting with the Marines, then the Navy, and the OSA. So we'll see what kind of abilities they have for us. One thing I've noticed is that the load times can be quite long, depending on the situation, so keep that in mind. And let's just get through these as quickly as possible.
Welcome to Space
It's a
Station
little
Wake
bit
Island,
laggy. I
Marine.
got a 3060.
So, survived basic training at
and
Camp Lejeune.
it's a little bit
Better
laggy.
still, you managed to
Probably
learn a thing
because
or
of
two
the
about
high
standard weapons.
resolution.
But now, it's time for the real deal. Your tour of duty will consist of 4 postings over 4 years. Not every boarding
+2
party
agility,
has the
that's pretty
luxury
good.
of
It gives you
gravity.
more movement
So the
speed, which
Corps
means you can
strongly
avoid
recommends
attacks.
every one of its brethren get in some zero-G training. A year aboard the training station Guadalcanal should suffice. The Navy maintains a survival training school on the surface of Io, the third moon of Jupiter. Pros, there's no better way to improve stamina and survival skills. Cons, the 21.2% mortality rate. Plus, you've got to spend the year with a bunch of Navy skanks.
Wow, there's that much of a mortality rate. Amazing. +2 endurance is good, but compared to agility, I would choose agility over endurance.
If you're partial to spending time with a lot of high explosives, this posting is for you. There's a lot of heavy lifting, but Ordnance also gets the first pick of booze and other goodies coming aboard the supply ship Gallo. Lock and load.
Strength is probably your best bet because it increases your wrench strength and also gives you more inventory space. I can't use my inventory now, but it does gives you
if you're
3
partial
slots
to
for each
spending
one.
time with a lot of high explosives, this
Let's do
posting
this
is
one.
for you. There's a lot of
The same as the original. They haven't changed them so far. Your stint aboard the UNN Gallo is finished. Well, you spent more exciting years, haven't you, Marine? If you ever look at another UNN packing crate, you'll put a bullet in your head, but you used the time well and bulked up considerably. You've gained 2 strength.
dummy ammunition, live ammunition, moving targets, stationary targets, live targets. The Port MacArthur training facility has enough hardware to warm the heart of any leatherneck.
+2 standard weapons is a pretty good bonus in the beginning. It pays off in the long run because it puts you a lot closer to the 6 standard weapons you need for assault rifle, but you don't get the assault rifle for a long time, so it might be better off picking a different one.
The automated asteroid ore facility in JM 432 supply the UNN shipyards, so they're crucial to defense. However, they're also prime candidates for hackers. Somebody's gotten their claws into the primary data loop, and they need a team to head in there and blast their way past the automated defense systems.
Heavy weapons is pretty good. You only need 1 because the later heavy weapons aren't as good as the grenade launcher. I think you start with 5 grenades, which is pretty good for getting through the tougher enemies in the beginning of the game. So if you don't want to bulk up standard weapons, heavy weapons is probably your best bet.
A tour of duty aboard the Antigua should let you pick up some one-on-one beam weapon training from Gunnery Sergeant Malloy. But heads up, she's a world-class SOB.
Okay, energy weapons. You can get an energy weapon pretty early on in the game once you get to the next area. And it's good against robots. But one thing to keep in mind is that the weapons you start with are only at 2 condition. Once they hit 1 condition, they'll be very quick to break and jam.
The automated asteroid
I'm going to
ore
grab the grenade
facility
launcher
in
for this
JM
one.
432 supply the UNN ship.
Time to get out of the asteroid belt and back to Wake Island Station. You'll probably have nightmares about cramped little tunnels for years, but you and the team got the jobs done. A combination of EMP grenades and high explosives will stop most hostile machinery, and in your year in the belt, you got a lot of practice at knocking the Borgs and bots right back to the assembly lines. You gain 1 heavy weapons and 1 cybernetic affinity. Cybernetic affinity is good. It helps when you are hacking things. It removes the ice nodes. So this bonus point will help you get a start in hacking. If you use your early points to go into hacking, then you'll have cybernetic affinity to go along with it.
The Colony Air Service gets the dregs of the fleet, and the Antigua is the dregs of the dregs. You'll learn a lot about recalcitrant machinery on a tour of duty aboard the Antigua, if it doesn't blow you to hell and back first.
Repair isn't that good because the weapon has to be broken first, and then you use a mini game to fix it, and a tool too, I believe. It's better to just not have your weapons break in the first place.
The Pleiades trading station's long been a haven for the black market. However, up until now they have not interfered with the running of station operations. Recent reports indicate that the Pleiades command staff has been overthrown, and the station is under the control of a self-appointed magnate. This must be rectified and a Marine presence maintained on the station.
So modify is good because once you're able to do it, it really enhances your weapon's abilities. But you don't get a modify kit for a while, so having a point in it early on is not that useful.
The UNN Secretary General's office needs a full staff of armed guards. When things are dull, it requires a lot of standing around looking good in a uniform. When things are bad, it can require fending off a side terrorist assault.
Maintenance is probably your best bet because you start with a maintenance tool and it allows you to repair your damaged equipment. So let's do this one. We'll use it on the grenade launcher. Get back to Wake Island Station pronto. Your tour of duty at the UNN Home Office is finished. After a year of practice in the Honor Guard, you look sharp in the uniform, and you're a lot better at keeping your rifle in tip-top shiny condition. If you had been bored much longer, you might have been tempted to take pot shots at the tourists. Still, the maintenance skill might come in handy someday. Alright, I'm going to skip this cutscene, because if we want to get into the game and look at the equipment.
Watch out. I'm getting strange readings from that
So,
radar dish outside
you can
the
see
window.
we've opened up these 6 slots by getting the +2 strength, so you only need to go up to 5 strength to get max inventory capacity. So this gives you a good start. The grenade launcher. How do I take a look at this? Right click. Modification level 0. What's its condition? Poor. So let's use the tool on it. I need a maintenance skill of 2. Okay. So I can't fix it up now, but I can prevent it from breaking. Okay, that's good. Anyway, so that's what we start with as a soldier. So let's load the game back to the start. Okay, the first time I loaded it, it was really long. So let's do Navy. Sometimes the more you play a game, the more warmed up it gets and the better it runs. I guess we could skip those cutscenes too. They look like they're the same.
Welcome aboard the space station Chesapeake Bay, sailor. It looks like you've picked up some standard weapon skills at Basic on Coronado Island. Now it's time for your tour of duty. Your tour will consist of 4 postings over 4 years. In this man's Navy, you're given a choice of 3 different postings a year. It's up to you to decide what kind of career you want to have, so choose wisely. Just approach a shuttle bay to receive a briefing on a posting. If you think that posting is right for you, head into that bay to accept the assignment.
That's actually quite generous because usually in the military you don't get to choose what you do unless you're really good. So that's fun. This is fun.
The UNN Lucille is looking for volunteers for their military police detachment. Those sailors can get pretty rowdy on these year-long cruises, so you better not be afraid of a tussle.
So the modify, like I said, not that important in the early game, but the strength is good.
The UNN Lucille is looking for an engineer's mate to help maintain the ship's core energy systems. There's some heavy lifting involved, sailor, but you'll learn your way around the high-tech equipment.
Again, repair, not that big of a deal. I don't know if there's any other use for it. I'm pretty much shooting this video from the hip and seeing what sticks. I'm going off of what I remember from many years ago.
The UNN Lucille is looking for an ops training officer to learn the ship's navigation and data control systems. You'll get your feet wet with the high-tech systems, but also expect some heavy lifting.
Hack is probably your best bet because that's the thing that the Navy is really good at, is getting into containers early on and getting extra loot, which is good. Soldiers need to spend the points in hack to use that cybernetic affinity they had, but we'll probably be picking up some of that in a later career. So hack is good. Your tour of duty aboard the UNN Lucille has concluded. You spent a productive year. Captain Mayer was pleased with your work, especially with the initiative you showed on physical training. A friendly ensign showed you some back doors into the ship's primary data loop, and you spent your time off pumping good old-fashioned iron. 1 hack and 1 strength.
Laverne, Florida hosts the Navy's premier tactical training school. While maybe not as respected as the Marines' facility at Fort Bush, there's a lot to be learned here.
So the 2 standard weapons would be good for the Navy because you get the head start towards the assault rifle, but it's not really necessary.
The UNN Pierce is ferrying liberated political prisoners back home from their detention near Saturn. The Pierce has been assigned a detachment of Marines and needs sailors to load, administer, and maintain the arms on board the ship.
I like maintenance just because it can keep your weapons from breaking and you start with the tool.
The UNN Carfax is undertaking a mission to examine a newly discovered Class B comet approaching the outer solar system. You'll likely pick up some useful skills working with the high-tech navigation systems aboard this newly commissioned heavy cruiser.
I think that's a good bet because you already have the hack, so this is going to help boost that hack. So let's do that. Your tour of duty aboard the UNN Carfax has concluded. It was a good year for you, but not great for the Carfax. After taking a surprise hit from a small meteorite that separated from the larger mass, the Carfax was forced to limp home with 123 casualties, including the chief navigation officer. You stepped in and filled his shoes, and by the end of the year, you became quite skilled with the NeuroNav interface.
The Navy strongly encourages every sailor to undertake some amount of zero-G training. A year at the Yamamoto space station in Earth's orbit will more than suffice.
I like agility because it helps you close the distance to do damage to enemies and also helps keep you away from damage.
The Navy maintains a survival training school on the surface of Io, the third moon of Jupiter. Pros, there's no better way to improve stamina and survival skills. Cons, the 21.2% mortality rate.
Oh wow, so it's the same thing as the Marines. That's cool. Yeah, endurance is cool, but I would rather avoid damage.
The Navy's Marie Curie research facility on Aquinas 4 is currently conducting research on a new strain of spaceborne virus that killed 220,000 citizens of New Atlanta. To lift the quarantine, we must determine how the virus pierced the city's micronanite shielding.
Research is a pretty important skill in the game. It's part of a lot of advancing the game, and it also helps you boost the damage you do against enemies, but you don't really need to start with it.
The Navy
So I'm going to go with agility.
The Navy strongly encourages every sailor to undertake some amount of zero-G training.
Your tour of duty at Yamamoto Station has concluded. You certainly weren't prepared for the events of this year. Captain Willits was never popular with his men, but you never expected half of the crew to mutiny. The top days spent regaining control of the ship with the captain lent you grace and agility you never knew you were capable of.
Watch out.
Okay, so we don't start with any
Strange
equipment,
readings from that radar
but we
dish
have
outside the window.
3 extra
It's
inventory
become
slots.
unstable due to... Move! Take cover!
We have good agility and cyber. We have hack and standard weapons. Alright, now let's check out the OSA. Yeah, here we go. Get another long load screen. Sometimes the loads seem to be long. The first time I loaded that save, it took about a minute. The other ones loaded pretty quickly, but this one seems to be different. Okay, let's take a look-see.
The OSA welcomes you to Orbital Station Chun-Lo. Ready yourself to feel the limitations of your mind slipping away. We will guide your path over the next 4 years. The shuttle bays at the center of the station will ferry you to your next stage of growth. When you've chosen, head into the appropriate shuttle bay. Get ready to learn things you've never imagined.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a list of the psi powers because I know you have to choose the powers.
The sensory deprivation tanks aboard the TOS Chu-Lun are modulated for your training. You shall spend a year in contemplation of mass, both yours and that of objects, until you can bend them to your intentions.
Yeah, I know cryokinesis is an attack, but this is where I'm just not so sure. So I'm looking through here. Psycho-reflective screen gives damage reduction. Okay, so it's a shield.
The sensory deprivation tanks aboard the TOS Runang await you. A year in meditation on the nature of matter will grant you power over it.
I'm looking. Kinetic redirection. Let's try this other article here. Sorry that I'm slowing things down. Okay, I'm just gonna pick the powers, and then we're gonna look at the powers.
The sensory deprivation tanks aboard the TOS Shaoling await you. There you will spend a solitary year focused in a meditation on motion and sound, and how they may serve your will.
So
The
cyber
sensory
affinity
deprivation tank-
gives you temporary cyber
The
affinity.
sensory
Kinetic
deprivation
redirection,
tanks aboard
I
the
think, is agility.
The sensory
Psycho-reflective
deprivation
screen
tank-
is defense.
The sensory deprivation
let's pick
tanks
this one.
aboard the TOS Runang await you.
Once we start the game, we can actually look at the psychic powers. So your year in the tanks of Runang is finished. Your will has grown. Your mind can freeze your foes in their tracks and pull distant objects to you. These talents will serve you well. Second-tier disciplines are now within your grasp, and you may take your skills into the field to pit them against your enemies. Kinetic redirection, okay.
Your body has been neglected in your training of your mind. On Io, you will find soldiers who wish to test their endurance. You will surpass their physical prowess without compromising your mental discipline.
So endurance might be good for the OSA because they don't really have any other strong attributes. And if you overload your psi abilities, it will do damage to you, but sometimes that's to your benefit, to do more damage.
Dr. Chandrisvalan's research labs have produced many of this decade's advances in psionic technique. You shall spend a year serving his genius, learning to understand his insights and whims.
Research is not that big of a deal in the early game. You can easily get points to put your research when you need to do it, so I'm going to skip that one.
Sifting the thoughts of treachery and disloyalty from the morass of emotion and eternal conflict that fill most mundanes can be disquieting. You shall spend a year building the general strength of your mind, while learning how to probe the thoughts of the less capable without losing yourself.
Okay, this is probably your best bet because you're boosting your psychic abilities, so let's go on
Sifting
with
the
this.
thoughts of treachery and disloyalty from the morass of emotion.
Your time of service at the OSA Central Core has reached its end. Your year was mostly peaceful with one major exception. The hired assassin tried to disguise her intentions under a layer of quiet, explicit daydreams, but you were not deceived. Near the end, you felt the presence of her fading thoughts enter your own mind and then vanish like clearing mist.
Many threats to security can only be defeated from inside. Your mind shall be carefully blanked and conditioned with the nature and past of a criminal. Join with the criminal and rebellious. Endure their squalor and chaos. And then, when it is time, liquidate them from within.
Interesting. You get some stats. Does this one have stats too?
In the grand scheme,
So you get
individuals
strength,
are no
agility,
more
and
important
cybernetic
than
affinity.
pieces on a game board. Occasionally, it becomes necessary to remove a piece without disturbing the flow of the game. These removals will be done in silence and with complete secrecy. You shall spend a year learning these skills. Acts of political terrorism and corporate coercion disturb corporate and political stability. You shall spend a year battling these chaotic elements, both psionically and by physical force.
Kind of like the sound of this ability, so let's take that. And then once we get into the game, we can actually look at them. You are directed to return to Station 7434A. Your year with the OSA Central Core has reached its conclusion. You learned the ways of lifting secrets from the minds of enemies and disarming their devices, but when it came time to act, speed, both natural and mentally enhanced, was critical. You've gained 1 strength, agility, and cybernetic affinity, and mastered psychogenic agility. Okay, so let's jump in and take a look at these powers.
Watch out. I'm getting strange readings from that radar dish outside the window. It's become unstable due to... Move! Take cover!
Okay. So kinetic redirection, pull an object toward you. That sounds cool. Psycho-reflective screen gives you 15% damage reduction. That's alright. Eliminate all weapon kickback, neuroreflexive dampening. That's not that big of a deal. I think standard weapons also decreases your weapon kickback. Psychogenic agility increases agility by 2 for 2 minutes plus 1 per psi. So our psi is 3. So we'd get 5 minutes of enhanced agility. That's kind of cool. Psychogenic cyber affinity increases your cybernetic affinity by 2. I guess if you wanted to hack, you could do that. If we take a look at cyber. Yeah, dangerous nodes, yeah. Cryokinesis sets your damage. Equally effective against robotic and non-robotic targets. Higher psi increases damage, so that's your bread and butter. Remote electron tampering makes active alarms time out faster. Well, hopefully you don't set off any alarms. So did we not get a second tier ability? No. Okay, then we won't worry about it. So psi pull, agility, and cryokinesis. That's what we start with. Alright, and that's all the careers. We took a look at them and saw what they had available to us, and I'll probably be picking the Navy when I play my game. What do you think? Leave a comment in the video if you want. If you want to let me know what kind of class you picked, I'd be curious to know. If there any of you are OSA characters, let me know. I'm sincerely curious as to how you managed to play the game that way. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching.